Hi, my name is Zander Smith, and the main goal of this presentation is to better understand how the experience of African migrants coming to West Germany and Britain between 1922 and 1989 highlights the complexity of forming a personal identity during a period of racial tension. Discrimination faced by African migrants ultimately resulted in the British Black Power movement in Great Britain and the self-identification of Afro-Germans in West Germany, as efforts to reconcile both race and African heritage in the immigrants' new home countries. After World War II, Africans migrated to European countries in large numbers, seeking employment, political stability, and a new life. While on opposite sides of the war, both Great Britain and West Germany were in need of labor to help them rebuild their countries. Both countries adopted policies that opened their borders to migrant workers, although they did not receive citizenship. In West Germany, many African migrants experienced discrimination and feelings of isolation as they struggled to find their place in a country with historically low levels of immigrants and a history of racism. In 1973, the Germans passed in Werbestop a recruitment ban that stopped Germany's policy of open borders to those not within the European Economic Community. This ban created an even greater feeling of separation between migrants and white Germans. The Afro-German movement of the 1970s sought to create a community of African migrants and resulted in literature, poems, and essays discussing their shared experiences of being black in Germany. Afro-German women especially struggled with their low place in the German social hierarchy. Afro-German immigrant Abina Adamako shares her struggles with identity because of the conflict between how others perceive her and how she perceives herself. She is part of a generation who feel that their oppression has many layers because of their gender. Her essay reflects the problem many Africans have with how difficult it can be to find their place in European culture. When in Germany, she is seen as an African because of her skin color, but when in Africa, she is treated as a German because of her mannerism. She clarifies this through saying, "My skin is black. As a result, I am seen as a foreigner. My thoughts and behavior are German. The way I move is European." In Great Britain, different political views emerged on whether Africans should be considered citizens with equal rights. There were many riots in British cities in the 1950s as racial tensions grew due to the large number of immigrants now living in Britain. While they came to the UK, seeking employment, and worked hard, they faced opposition from the white British people. The UK also established the Commission for Racial Equality in 1976 to try and diffuse discrimination between white and black Britons. African migrants began to organize themselves politically as a reaction to years of discrimination in the 1960s. With varied experiences coming from different backgrounds, cultures, and religions, quote, coordinate black politics would be difficult to establish in Britain, and it was not going to be easy to form one dominant black political party, as stated by Paul Rich in Immigration into Britain. Visits by Malcolm X in 1965 and Stokely Carmichael in 1967 influenced the organization of a united Black Power movement in Britain. The British Black Power movement focused on self-preservation for Black Britons, further dividing them from Britons. Much of the country invested in the advancement of their own race rather than simply equality for all. The election for Prime Minister in 1980 came at a complicated time for both black and white Britons. A 1979 Tory political advertisement illustrates efforts to speak to black Britons as simply Britons, arguing for unification for all Great Britain, instead of focusing on voters' racial identity. The advertisement claims, quote, rewards will only come about by creating a mood of equal opportunity for everyone in Britain, regardless of their race, creed, or color. Saatchi, 1983. Rather than focusing on skin color or where someone was originally from, their objective was to unite and alter the conversation away from radical groups wanting to achieve individual rights for themselves and into one united Britain with all the same rights. While both countries had initially invited immigrants as temporary workers, their place in British and Germany's society remained undefined until they began to unite in order to fight for their equality. While African migrants faced the many obstacles, African women especially struggled with the stereotypes and feeling like outsiders in European culture, such as Abina Adamako. United by their experience of immigration and skin color, these new communities allowed Black Britons and Afro-Germans to come together to find a political voice as the British government began to understand the power of uniting all Britons as one. After decades of discrimination and feeling unwelcome in their new home country, these African migrants became a part of British and German culture and illustrate the difficulty of finally feeling at home in a racially tense political environment.